Hello everybody and welcome to BlizzCon. That's right, it's time for the group stages of the 2019 Overwatch World Cup. I'm Mitch Leslie, joined by Matt Morello. We are in the thick of things. We are in the middle of BlizzCon, surrounded by some very excited people as they check out and talk about the announcements from today.
When you watch us and we're extremely distracted, it's because we have the Overwatch 2 thing directly in front of us. There's tons of people here. And then also to our right, we have all the panels and stuff. So if you want to come and distract us, you're more than welcome.
That's fine.
If you're here.
Flash photography is allowed, as far as I know.
You're probably not watching this.
You can throw me some food as well.
You want to bring us food?
Yeah.
Okay with that
I'm doing like a breakfast burrito, maybe something from Morton's, you know. It's not low key.
Yeah. I could go for a steak.
I'll take it on a paper plate even, so you don't have to worry about it too much. But if you are just joining us, welcome. We've actually whittled down a lot of our field already after yesterday's preliminary matches, Matt. We had some underdogs that sort of came up. We had some teams that really showed some potential. And now as it stands, we are here to start to whittle that down even further before we get to our finals.
Do we have a schedule to potentially show people? We can talk a little bit about what we are doing today. So we're doing
I think we can.
Yeah, we're doing the first 2 games. We're having a game and off, and then the last 2 games on this channel. Right. I don't know who will be in between us.
I think Brennan Sideshow are going to fill in for us. But we can show you.
We can show you. Well,
this is our first matchup here, so we'll talk about the schedule a little bit later. But China goes up against Denmark here. We have not seen China play yet. They obviously got auto-seeded into this stage on account of getting silver medal last year. We did see Denmark, though. We saw them play through
they were good.
Those group stages yesterday, and we were very impressed. They were the ones that ultimately sent Australia packing from the tournament.
Oh, we got a game
Here
right
are our
away.
maps. We are straight in, that's right. So
Jeremy told us 60 seconds. I was like, nah, I don't know.
You didn't believe him?
Nah.
So all of these matches, ladies and gentlemen, are 3-map series. There is a 4th if required. So it's a little bit shorter than what you'd expect from the Overwatch League in general, but we will play 3 no matter what.
Yeah, I thought it was just 3 maps with no tiebreaker. That may be a graphic that they just need to, they don't have one that has the 3-map set, so it may just be a fill-in. But we can get right into game. So China, you will recognize a lot of these players from the Overwatch League. Jinmu, Eileen, Gushui, Elsa, Eviltal, and Keo. Really strong team.
Yeah, no doubt
China
about
this year. And then yesterday we had the pleasure of casting Denmark. Shax and Fisher were sick yesterday. And then also you got Kellex back there, leading the team in that main support role.
China, of course, is the first time showing up at the Overwatch World Cup, and many of these faces, let's see them now as they jump here out onto Ilios. Jinmu is going to be on the Doomfist. Eileen actually on the Reaper here. Maybe not the assignment you would have expected, as Eileen's very well known in that role.
Well, Jinmu is just so aggressive, right? When you saw him on the Pharah, the Genji during the Overwatch League, that maybe it's a hero that just fits his playstyle a little bit better. He tries to dive into the back line, but Malt hits him with a nice accretion.
Now, great start to the fight. Eileen realizes he has to back out a little bit from the fight. And this gives Denmark a heck of a lot of control. China, in the past, in the World Cup, and even in the Overwatch League, especially the Hunters, are known for that aggressive, scrappy play style. Denmark, though, with their experience for many of these players, Matt, in European contenders, like to play this composition standard. They've had a lot of reps, especially with many of them coming off the gauntlet recently.
Yeah, now yesterday with Denmark, I think you really looked at Shax and Fisher, strong damage dealer duo. But Malt, every time that the Doomfist would dive in, try and make a play for the back line of Denmark, always hitting those accretions. That big rock that comes out of Sigma, breaking up those flanks, and there's another one.
Yep, Jinmu trying to go for the finish on Molf early, but it's going to be coalescences from both sides now. He'll have another opportunity to try and get into this fight. It's Shax to fall down. Jinmu finally strikes and finds his target. This is going to draw out the gravitic flux from Molf here, and he gets Gushui, but Jinmu and Eileen are going to work on the back line and the front line, respectively. China win the fight. They've given a lot of percentage over to Denmark, though.
And China should be able to flip this, get control of the point, but the gravitic flux comes in from Molf, and they just get Gushui, but it's kind of a bit fortunate there for China that it's just Gushui, right? I mean, they have no support ultimate, like a sound barrier at that point to get them through it. They're still able to keep enough players alive.
Jinmu will wait patiently here. He could have crossed that gap. He gets actually caught in the hold, still able to get a decent rocket punch off and at least keep Fisher honest. He may be looking
for the haul here.
It looks like China are really focusing on the Sigma here in a lot of these fights, Matt. Trying to pressure Molf out as early as possible. Here's a supercharger from Henningsen. The fight's going to be a death blossom going to the backside, but no, Eileen is only able to find the 1 kill before it's traded out for Shax. Denmark have flipped the point back in their control during this fight, and Eviltal gets smashed on the point.
Yeah, and Elsa looked like he was going for his gravitic flux. Doesn't even get it off. Just kind of the initial impact kills Malf. But Denmark flips the point back. So Denmark in control of point progress. No changes coming through from China. So really, I think once you kind of get into this double shield Doom Reaper dance between the two teams, you have to commit.
69% place, 33. Coalescence for Keo. Scalar does not have one. But a Death Blossom from Shaxx could be just what the Doctor ordered here. Malf, the first casualty of this fight, and China are looking to try and make their way to the point as quickly as possible, but they have to deal with Denmark before rotating. And that gives Denmark up to 85% before the flip.
It's the power of Coalescence. It's the only ultimate that China has to use there. And Coalescence obviously goes through the shields when you're playing double shield and just playing around that and behind it. Obviously, an ability that goes through both those shields, pretty powerful. Does the healing and damage, and Keo's Coalescence is enough to flip the point back for China. But still, like you mentioned, 84% for Denmark here. You have a Death Blossom, you're going to have your own Coalescence and Gravitic Flux. Can you combo them to take the point back?
Economically, they're really well positioned here, Matt, especially with that Coalescence online. Malf wants to try and start
Nice
the fight
hold.
up here. Good hold. Actually, he's going to drag Elsa inside the Gravitic Flux, but he's not taken down. Gushui loses his supercharger early in the fight, but Eileen has already struck blood, and the big frontliner, Henningsen for Denmark, has fallen by the wayside. Scalar desperately trying to keep Malf up on his feet, but he himself is facing some scrutiny from the Reaper of Eileen. It's Shaxx that chimes in, though. Great timing for him. He's already found himself 3, and this is what Denmark need. They've already flipped the point now in their favor as they sit, and that Coalescence from Keo is too little, too late, and we're in one fight territory now in our first round.
And in China, you're playing around this Gravitic Flux from Elsa. It's the only ultimate you have. But the sound barrier from Kellex, just like yesterday, doing a phenomenal job holding on to those sound barriers for when that Flux is going to come.
1.1 tick, they're going to have to go pretty darn fast. Gushui does get a touch on the point,
There's
but
the
Fish has
beat.
already taken Jinmu down. It's 5 players left for China, and Elsa's gone over the edge, or he's taken himself down with a Hypersphere. Regardless, he's done. Malf getting rid of Eileen after he only found the one pick does not bode well for China, and overtime will now dwindle. Almost over the edge went Gushui. It's a late sound barrier that's only really catching on to 3 players, and Gushui goes down to Scalar's Biotic Orb. Denmark, full numbers here on the point, and a Coalescence to boot. They've got everything they need, and desperately Jinmu tried to keep things going, but Denmark in a shock beginning to this series. Take the first round over our second-seeded team.
This just looks like the Denmark of yesterday. Remember when we were talking about Denmark? We had a lot of games yesterday that
We
were
did.
just blowouts. I mean, they were just. They were some sad games sometimes. But Denmark is the team yesterday that we saw, at least on our channel, that they had the best teamwork, I thought. Like, they were able to use the halts plus seismic slams, meteor strikes. They were able to land those combos every time. You saw that again here in the first point against China. If I was China, I'd be worried. Denmark's for real.
Yesterday, they went up against opposition. Like you said, you couldn't really get the measure of them.
They
but
were,
here,
yeah. I mean, they didn't go up against the strongest competition,
That's
right?
true.
I mean,
But China, second seed last year. A lot of expectations for them coming off the league this year as well.
And this is a team of full Overwatch League players. I mean,
Every one of them.
it is not a.
And the Hunters
it's
coach.
not like a mixed roster at all, as well. Yeah, I mean.
Yeah. All right, Denmark into it. Watching Fisher here as well. This is the map that started off their gauntlet run against XL2. Unfortunately, that run in general was unsuccessful. So was this map. But they're looking experienced playing this composition. It's an accretion that will put Elsa out of position for the time being, but he is looking to disrupt as much as he
I
can.
like this move by China, though. Like, play to your strengths, right? Get Gushui on the Winston. Play an aggressive dive around this. We don't see many teams do it because, quite frankly, in the double shield meta, it's very difficult, right? Diving into the Reaper and the Orisa and the Sigma, a lot of CC, a lot of survivability. If there's any Winston in the world who can make this work, it's Gushui. I mean, the guy is nuts.
And it's so exciting to see this composition now. Denmark has been so long refining their approach to this composition, right? The switch to Sombra here. This is absolutely tech that comes out of the gauntlet. A lot of teams really started to orbit around that pick as an answer to some of this dive, or especially to the heavy tank double shield front line. Henningsen's able to take down Elsa first. It was the hack, though, that set that in motion.
I mean, once the Hammond gets hacked, can't really go anywhere there, but Eileen takes out 2 on the Reaper. Jinmu now starting to get to work on Doomfist, and this just looks like a much more comfortable
Diva?
look from China.
Diva Winston. I mean, China, we knew they'd be a bit fruity, Matt, based on the teams that they hail from and their playstyle in general, but this is a treat. Gushui has Primal Rage. That's a sentence that should make many fans excited.
And now they go with May, does Denmark. So Fischer goes to May to try and just slow some of this aggression down coming out from China.
Is this going to be the answer? The Sombra didn't work out, but here's the Primal Rage. Gushui starting off with some positioning. Might be just looking for the Lucio here. See what he can do to Kellex. Kellex was able to get the sound barrier off eventually. I think Gushui was trying to juggle him out of it, but it didn't quite work out. Molt goes down to Elsa, the rocket boosters. D.Va sat on the sidelines for so long, Matt. Now comes in for China. Starts the fight off well, and they are at 81% after Denmark dominated that first round.
And I think, what China is doing is they're playing aggressive. They're trying to bait Denmark into playing the game that China wants to play, which is an aggressive, divey type of style, which would not suit Denmark well, as Kellex gets caught out there. Elsa and Eileen going to finish him off.
They've been targeting him big time. You saw Gushui lined him up as his first Primal Rage target, and now they dive him again. Pressure on a Henningsen. Jinmu now going to go for that Meteor Strike to try and interrupt the Death Blossom. It works out perfectly. Both Reapers only able to get the one kill for their troubles. Shaq's only getting Gushui, and China have the numbers still on the point. Henningsen gets flattened against the wall as Jinmu was free to roam. And now the D.Va is going to be easy work. Denmark trying a little bit of that action of their own. Not fancying the Sigma here. But the mirror, it doesn't work out. China, this might be a composition that they've worked on, Matt, something that they're comfortable with. It looks really good.
Yeah, I don't think you'll have the D.Va incorporated too often. I think you just kind of had the D.Va there coming in towards the end for Elsa, probably a little bit more comfortable. If you remember, Overwatch League did not play much Wrecking Ball. That was all for Eamon, as main tank of the Chengdu Hunters. Elsa really picked up that D.Va role quite often. But the first point, back and forth. Point number 2, all in favor of China. So Jinmu now goes over to the Pharah. This one you kind of have to play Orisa, right, on well. I mean, it's the best. Even before Orisa was like a mainstay, this was an Orisa map. Halt just way too effective in the middle.
The only team that really didn't play Orisa on this map for some time was the Chengdu Hunters. They tried to play that the Roadhog setup with the Wrecking Ball for quite some time. Reinhardt is obviously useless here and has been for some time just because he's so easy to pull into the pit or knock him there. Will we get Jinmu's Pharah?
You keep talking like that about Reinhardt. Johnny ain't going to feature us on the Red Zone stream. I mean,
he knows he's been griefing top 500.
Yeah, that's right. That's where the people are at. You got to just say nice things about the Reinhardt. But Widow Pharah here against Double Shield. So normally you would not really love the Widowmaker against Double Shield, right? Like not like a ton of line of sight, like really easy to break. At least on this map and this point, you see how many entrances of the chokes there are. Like you can still find an angle as the Widowmaker.
Shax finds that first pick. He was actually using some really passive positioning, and Fischer also playing very safe was able to ambush
nice
Elsa.
boot.
Kellex with the boot, but Fischer probably would have had that one sorted. Eviltal was able to get the Resurrect on Eileen, and Fischer doesn't fancy hanging around. He'll now try and work together with Henningsen, play those corners as Jinmu is forced to ground himself for the time being. It's tough for him to play out in the open here when you know that Shax is at large.
It's a nice positioning, though, from Jinmu and Gushui, though. Gushui plays close here. You can't push him because all of the damage that's coming down from Jinmu, and then you also have Eviltal there able to heal up Gushui, and China able to flip it off the back of that.
Elsa didn't have rocket boosters, fair enough. Into the pit he goes, but it doesn't really matter. It was Jinmu that was able to stay out of Shax's line of sight and still get value. He's gone down now. Fischer was able to find it, but China have flipped the point, and that feels pretty bad for Denmark as you committed that coalescence to try and stay in control or get control of the point and at least get some percentage in a losing fight.
Gushui's positioning was so good there and so impactful. You needed to use coalescence to put enough damage on him to break him out of that spot. Now you're going to see a Wrecking Ball Sigma composition coming in from Denmark.
Gravitic Flux here coming down. Jinmu was low. He was brought to his knees and to the ground. Fischer was able to finish off Eviltal, but Gushui still stays on the point. So some stall will be happening here as he threw that supercharger down. Somehow Q is able to chase Scalar. China's still in control. This will get drawn out quite a long time, and dude, you got to be careful. Elsa will punish you with a Bunny Blaster if you underestimate him.
And I would say if you were to rank Gushui's tanks in terms of the heroes that we've seen them play in the past, I would say his Winston is obviously clear-cut the best. I think his Orisa's probably is number 2.
Sure.
I would say a very strong Orisa player. So now Eileen will make a switch over to Sombra. So you go Sombra to get rid of this Wrecking Ball. That'll allow Gushui yet again to get that good positioning on the point.
China just behaving themselves a little bit when it comes to tanks. Bringing the Orisa in as they fancy some staying power. They need to try and get this point from Denmark first. Quite aggressive positioning from Shax, but he probably knows that it's only really Jinmu that can pressure him. Eileen will probably see him coming for the most part. Will be able to avoid getting hacked. And Jinmu, look at him, playing by this tower. There's no reason for him to work out in the open. Shax will rip him one.
Yeah, I mean, Jinmu's one of the best Pharahs in the world, right? So has the positioning locked down here.
That's very clever. He used a very quick concussive blast just to change his positioning to throw off Shax's aim so he couldn't line him up. He knew he couldn't stay out in the open for too long. Here's Shax. He actually had plenty of time to line that up.
And he knows between the lighthouse, you know, and the propellers going around, he has enough cover.
He needs to hit the headshot, though. That's what he was looking for. It's only been body hits, so he's still been pushed out of position by Jinmu. There it is. He was looking for that. Denmark still have control. They were looking for Jinmu to open that point up for them, but now with him out of the picture, Shax is, well, he's taken care of the Pharah Mercy combination, and China are back to the drawing board, and they have to come up with something real quick.
So now Jinmu goes over to Doomfist. If you were China, why not just go back into the dive? They're not even playing the Orisa. If you were going to play D.Va, you may as well play the Winston here as well.
Shax,
he's in trouble. And now you don't have the walls anymore.
He didn't get the grapple that he was looking for. Henningsen onto the point, but he's been hacked. He at least did have the adapter shielding, but he's taken down awfully fast. Trying to find two important picks in this fight. Fisher headed to the sky, but they haven't capped quite yet. Fisher trying to play from this corner and counterpunch, but he's caught inside the hole. Then he gets hit. Looking for Jinmu, but he's too high up, and Denmark have to cede control.
Ooh, Elsa gets demeched here towards the end of this.
He goes over the pit. Yeah.
So
I mean, look, he'll come back pretty quick with the rocket boosters.
It's a really nice adjustment there from China, so it's really quick. And it looked like they were just going to back up to the point. As soon as Elsa realizes he has to jump into the pit, Jinmu knows where Shax is at that moment in time, so he just goes, gets a quick kill. Because if you don't get that kill, that's going to give an advantage to Denmark on the way in.
EMP, though, for China. Eileen waiting. They want to get this fight over and done with pretty quick. A minimum of ult commitment is what they're looking for. Eileen gets revealed, though. He's got to pull the trigger, and he gets himself 3. It was the front line and Shax to get caught by that, and that looks like it's enough for them here. Scalar over the edge. He knows his fight's already over. And for China, that's pretty darn good. Cheap fight win at a crucial juncture.
And now Eileen, because you hit that EMP, you know that Mulf has the Gravitic Flux. So do you try and hack the Sigma here, prevent the shield, and then get the damage boost and go for him? How do you decide to play this here towards the end for China?
Last fight territory now. Denmark approach the point. They do have a bit to work with. The Flux, the Coalescence is there. Molt's going to try and start this fight off now, though. Accretion hit will be huge.
Beautiful.
He actually managed to connect it. Somehow Jinmu is able to get out of trouble, though. Goosebay's Supercharger gets taken down early in the fight. The Coalescences had to be used here, but Fisher is down. The Doomfist is missing, and now Jinmu gets to rule the roost, and he's looking to make the absolute most of it. Still in overtime here, but Shax is taken down, and it might just be a matter of cleanup. Molf is able to connect with a Hypersphere, but that is about it. And Elsa's just going to go for the melee hits while he waits. That kinetic grasp out. And China managed to get it done, Matt. They managed to clean up in that last fight, and you have to think the Sombra finally pays off. Mid to late round for them. The EMP gets the job done.
Yeah, the Gravitic Flux was pretty good there from Molf. You saw Gushui, we caught a camera angle of him, but Fortifies gets around Keo with the Coalescence. It was rather good. I think China, I think what you saw from them at the beginning, because I think we talked about them, because we've seen Denmark play already.
Should I sit as well? Does that make more sense if I sat as well?
Do what you want, fam. No, I think what we saw from China is when they played the Winston, they were very aggressive. They were good around that. I think their double shield game in the neutral, so to speak, for lack of a better word, was about equal with Denmark, I kind of felt. So I'm interested to see how that develops throughout this match, throughout the day. Because I think China, they have the talent to be a team that goes to tomorrow, goes to potentially the final, but they're going to have a good double shield, you know, the Orisa, Sigma, plus the Doom and the Reaper to be able to do that. I wasn't exactly sold on it there on Ilias.
So you think for all their flexibility and all the picks that they can pull out, that if they can't play ball with everybody else with this same composition, they are going to struggle?
Yeah, I think eventually you're going to get into a point where you're going to have to mirror. And I think if you go up against a team that has a stronger mirror, you could be in trouble. I mean, look at the South Korean roster, right? You know, with like Haxal, Carpe, Architect, like who's dealing with that? You know, I think and China, their aspirations are to win the whole thing, right? So I think for them, you need to have at least a a comparable matchup there to be able to do so. I don't know if you can get there. I'd be extremely impressed if they're able to get there playing some more of that Winston stuff.
That's how they did it last year, though, if you remember that. Like, they didn't really toe the line.
But last year, though, I think the difference with World Cup last year is like we didn't have a full... So GOATS was like just becoming a thing last year, where a lot of people were saying that the counter to the GOATS was a lot of teams were playing Doom Sombra. Sombra Doom Dive, right? And you were able to beat... teams were able to beat GOATS teams on a lot of decent maps. Like I remember games of Volskaya, teams would run a lot of Sombra Doom, Sombra Tracer like against it. And obviously the meta developed post that. You were not able to run anything like that anymore. This meta has been developed for a few months now. We had this meta for Overwatch League playoffs, Overwatch League finals, the offseason. We're still in it, right? So this would be the equivalent of having Overwatch World Cup last year being played with, 4 or 5 months of GOATS under the belt. The meta would have been developed. You'd not have seen any of the Sombra Doom stuff, maybe from a few teams, but it would not have worked. I think this year, though, with the meta being so developed, I don't know if you're going to be able to make some of these other things work. Now, in my opinion, if you were to make some of these other things work, it's probably built around Pharah-based compositions. That's how I would see it happen.
Well, that's what you think is starting to emerge a little bit more now. You mentioned it yesterday. We saw some Reaper Pharah, I think, and you said, like, I feel like this is, going to be quite powerful. But at the same time, teams playing without the Lucio, can struggle without that sound barrier, especially seeing how important it does seem to be when Gravitic Flux is so common.
Right, and I think if you're going to play the Pharah, you have to play the Mercy, right? I think yesterday we were trying to make the argument, what was it? I think it was like Paraguay. They were playing like a Zen, and then they were playing the Pharah as well. It was like Zen Baptiste or something like that.
Or are you sure that wasn't, who was doing that? No, what is it, Hong Kong?
Oh, yeah.
Mango Jai just wanted to play a bunch of Zen.
They just played a ton of Zen, and it was like really odd because you're playing the Pharah, but then you're not playing Mercy because they felt like they needed a support ultimate to get through the Gravitic Flux. But now you're putting yourself at even a worse advantage because the Zen in that instance isn't giving the damage boost to the Pharah. You don't have the Pharah up in the sky getting the heal. You lose res. So you are playing a hero strictly for the ultimate, which is not a good play. At least with Lucio in this meta.
So you're convinced that the Discord Orb is not...
No, it's not it. Especially with double shield. It's just not it. I think it's just, you create, like there were so many times yesterday where we see the Zen die trying to get an off angle or whatever because you're trying to get a Discord down on anybody. You can't because of the shielding. So I think if you were to make a composition that could go after the double shield, it would probably rely around something with, you have to have Moira. Coalescence is just way too good.
Yep.
Especially
getting rid of Supercharger.
You probably still run double shield of your own. Like if you're not comfortable playing like Doom Reaper, let's say, I think you probably play something like Pharah Reaper, Pharah Doom. I think we saw Pharah Tracer yesterday, which Tracer's just not the meta right now. I mean, if you were to build something else, you're probably reliant on. I mean, my gut would tell you it's something what we saw like China just run, where it's Winston Ball. I think Winston Ball has enough survivability through double shields, but you need to combo that with 2 damage dealers who can also get through those shields and play aggressive. At that point, the Reaper has to, like Reaper Doom almost has to be it. Because the Reaper teleport gets you right behind the shields, right? Just burst down tanks. And then Doom, we obviously know the one hit potential kill of Doom.
Also the mobility if he needs to get into the back line.
So that's why I think a little bit of a rant on the meta right now. But I think that's why you're probably seeing a little bit less variation than you probably have in the past. Like even when we had GOATS, right? You still saw like a lot of different variation, like trial and error type of stuff. This is really, I think, something where you have a set meta or a set selection of heroes that you kind of have to incorporate in some capacity.
Second map of this series is going to be Numbani, and we saw Denmark get off to quite a strong start. This series definitely has the hallmarks of an absolute barn burner. It is a 3-map series, and we have a tiebreaker map if required. So think Overwatch League and just take 1 map off. Now, we have 10 teams that sort of come into today. This is our group stage, right? We head into our finals tomorrow. 2 teams out of the 10 today will get eliminated. The rest, of course, will
No,
be...
I believe, I believe I was talking with Dan earlier. Is it 6 that make it to tomorrow?
Oh, I see. So there's a quarterfinals, but there's buys for the top seeds. That will make a lot more sense.
Yes.
Sorry, that's my bad. So, yes, 2 teams from each group get eliminated, which would be 4 in total. That would leave 6 teams left going into tomorrow. So, Group A is not... This is not Group A, but Group A is South Korea, France, United States, UK, Sweden. We are working with Group B right now, which is Canada, China, Denmark, Russia, and the Netherlands. Now, Group A, it feels like we have a group of death again this year.
I mean, every year I feel like there's one group that ends up really loaded up with teams. I mean, this is but I think that's awesome, though, right? I think seeing Team USA, I can see, I believe they're up 1-0. They have a new look this year a little bit. You bring in the Shock Boys, a little bit more of an edge to them. They come off the Overwatch League finals. I think anytime you throw a guy like Super on your squad, you're in a better spot. As
well, we're bullish on that.
That was an advertisement for Super. So
nice,
hashtag,
Good.
hashtag
I guess he owes you 10 gifteds, right?
Yeah.
Nice.
At least. I mean.
So for Denmark at least, we're talking about youth. Denmark actually, like someone like Fischer, these guys aren't like your 21, 22-year-olds. Fischer is, he's got to be 25, 26 now. He's been around for so long in Overwatch.
I don't know how I follow it up because I have no idea how old
Super
Fischer is.
Oh, Fischer. Well, no, I think he's mid-20s for sure. So Group B is interesting because there are 3 teams from yesterday that qualified into it, whereas Group A had 3 auto-seeded teams and only 2 that qualified from yesterday.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. So Group A had South Korea, France, and US were locked in, and the UK and Finland got in. Group B had only Canada and China locked in, and then Denmark, Russia, and Netherlands got in.
And I can give you a score update. Russia is up 1-0 against Canada right now. Canada, because of a scheduling thing with XQC. Scheduling conflict, I guess. But they've known about it for a while. He is not playing in that first game. They have actually Mangachu playing the Orisa. So China comes out on offense. Literally, we're going to go with a little bit of a dive at first. But this is kind of what I was talking about. Like, this is your other option, right? Get Eileen on the Doomfist, Jinmu on the Pharah, and just kind of, beautiful haul there from Gushui. But, I mean, this is kind of what you would love to see from China.
Doesn't this feel like their very best look right now?
I think they're better suited for this.
Yeah.
Absolutely, without question. I think they're better suited for this. Eileen on Doomfist, Jinmu on Pharah, like, each of those players on arguably their best hero.
Let's see what they can do, though. They are on the attack, and they're taking their sweet time to find that first kill. Fischer was able to get rid of Kyo, but that's easily brought back when you have the Mercy to pair with your Pharah. Eileen doesn't quite hit the target, and he's lucky to get out there. Makes the seismic slam escape. But Jinmu, it's a matter of time, slowly building up that damage and that inevitable barrage here. Needs to respect the coalescence as it can bring him down out of the sky. But once he's ready to hit Q, this fight could go from bad to worse for Denmark.
Oh, there's the Rocket Barrage. He'll connect with 2 players, and what I love about the Pharah Doom compositions, and even Pharah Reaper for that matter, is like the Pharah gets up in the sky. There's no hit scan on the other side, no real threat. Shackstone goes over to McCree, so we'll talk a little bit about that after. But Pharah, so much poke damage,
Doesn't it feel like a foregone conclusion when you see a Pharah on attack?
Yeah,
eventually they're just going to win.
And what's like something of the past is like, okay, you would say like the Pharah is just working down the shields. It's not in the shields. It's being able to get the verticality over the shields to put the damage down on the players, which allows you to keep moving your shields forward, their shields back, taking space.
What do you make of this rotation from Denmark on defense?
I mean, we saw McCree a lot yesterday, and everything that we saw McCree with yesterday is not here today. So I mean, that kind of tells you what's going on with McCree right now.
Shax is able to open up the fight, and honestly, you can pressure the Bastion from such a safe location. You actually got a rare headshot on the Bastion by hitting it from behind in that little blue power core. Elsa is able to find 2 kills with that Gravitic Flux, but Denmark are in good shape here, and Elsa can't really invest further.
Are they? I mean, now you're going to have China have the spawn advantage. Both tanks dead here for Denmark, so with both shields gone, there's no way you can stand here and fight. You would have loved to have at least 1 tank alive, and now what they do is they just bring the Bastion back out. You can't play up here, so this will be the payload progress that China wanted.
Denmark have had to give that fight away. At least, in a sense, they're able to build ult percentage off it, but they were so close to trying to spawn. It's very, very hard to really get a concrete advantage from a fight like that. There's Shax, goes down to Eileen, and the Holt really set that up for him. He's just burning them down.
And McCree, like, he doesn't offer, like, just think about McCree in this type of scenario. doesn't offer quality shield break, doesn't have a high impactful ultimate,
Right.
and he lacks mobility. So he is the perfect target for like halts, the Bastion, dive targets, right, with how strong Doomfist is. That's why you see they switch off it right away. Don't even bother even working up towards the high noon. Bring out the Reaper again.
Now Denmark want to play as close as they can, make some use of the balcony and the verticality. Pretty darn nice use of the gravitic flux there, and Shax is able to capitalize. Fisher comes in as well. Cleans them up with that Meteor Strike, but fantastic opener from Molf.
Oh, and Keo invests an Ant Matrix into that while he switches right off. You'll have some more changes coming through here for China. Jinmu
Okay,
go
off
back
the
to
Bastion.
Doom. Yep. So get off the Bastion here. So what is... Do you go back and switch Scalar off of Ana? I probably would. With how fast you're able to build a Coalescence, I think he's just too easy of a target.
And where are you finding value with your Bionades here? There's just so much shielding going on. Okay, that's a nice way of hiding your Supercharger. Yeah. Elsa's taken down, and China sees that Denmark make an investment there. They think there's no point sort of reciprocating, as they've got plenty of time. They back up. This is what Shax wants to be doing constantly. He's just going to cycle over the top of the balcony, into the back line, Wraith walk away, rinse and repeat.
So Reaper gets a lot of needed adjustments over the course of the year to finally make him a viable hero. So Gravitic Flux comes in from Elsa. Grabs Molf. Nobody really taking a ton of damage from that, though.
Henningsen, right, a little bit low here. Jinmu and Eileen, they were looking far worse for wear. And they're going to go back to their backline. Shax sees an opportunity, an opening now to try and pressure down. It was a 4-5 for Gouchway, and Shax gets a little bit ahead of himself there. Kyo's able to catch him out with the Coalescence.
And they invested so many resources there into trying to keep Shax alive. They nano boosted him to go in for the extra damage. Then they tried to sound barrier. They just don't time it perfectly, and he ends up falling there. So China getting the payload here down the home stretch. No Supercharger. They'll end up with a sound barrier in this fight, though.
On the whole, pretty good progress for China across this map, but there's another fight to be won here. Jinmu looks to the back line to try and pressure Kellex down as quickly as he possibly can. The Death Blossom doesn't really get the job done for Shax. The sound barrier was necessitated for China, but now Jinmu and Eileen back it up. Denmark not quite on the cart, but you can't blame them, as half of their team just got crunched.
Really good adjustments from China throughout that match. Every time that you saw Denmark adjust, China made the necessary adjustments to get the upper hand in terms of composition. So I have to see what Denmark does now on their offense to try and break this. Maybe we see China come out with a Bastion setup here on this map.
Just try and see if Denmark can figure out how to rotate.
Well, the defensive Bastion is actually pretty good against the Pharah on this map. You usually would like the Pharah, but Numbani, with the way that first point is there's not a lot of open area to really kind of get. It's not like Paris, where if they run like the Bastion, you can get like a nice conk off. There's a lot of area where you can just hide players, right? Like up in the hallways and whatnot. So a little bit more advantageous to see the Bastion here on Numbani than some of the other ones. I mean, I should at this point, why am I not a coach? I mean, realistically.
Because you get paid more as a caster. What are you talking about?
True.
You can't tell me you haven't shopped around, bro. Come on.
No.
And also,
but,
no,
this makes a ton of sense. Bastion Pharah here. This will probably force Denmark into a really aggressive playstyle where they'll have to like rotate around the hallways. But then you kind of play this game of chicken, right, where you just keep kind of rotating around a circle. Or they'll have to force Denmark into a Pharah game where you're trying to put pressure on the Bastion. The issue is Jinmu's fantastic at the air-to-air Pharah duel, so you'll never be able to give the full attention that is needed onto the Bastion. So all the pressure now on Denmark here, try and make something happen.
Right. Might just be the Sim TP and then the switch for Fisher. We'll see. Yep, over to the Doomfist. Sombra. Now I'm curious, where does Shax get in here?
Sombra here you can make work, right?
How do you safely though build up your EMP and get damage?
So what they do here is they see the interesting. So you go Hanzo here, Hanzo Pharah. So they really wow. I mean, they believe this is a shield break comp. I mean, okay, Shax just takes Jinmu out of the sky.
Yeah, it was a halt.
There was a halt there attached to that, but
nice job, Henningsen. And Jinmu gets taken down again.
You cannot ask for a better start.
All right, but they still need to get through the bulk of China's composition that features the Bastion and the shield. But I mean, Shax technically has a little bit more room to breathe, and, well, Eileen had to skitter back around the corner. Now it's up to China. They have to be the ones to rotate. They also have to contest the point. They can't just sit up on that balcony and fire down with the Bastion.
I mean, China gave this away. I mean, it's a great start here from Denmark, but let's be real. I mean, they have Elsa off to the side. I mean, yeah, like you have Elsa off to the side. He has absolutely no chance to re-shield the Bastion, right? So you're relying just on Gushui's shield, and he's playing off to the left, where he easily could have, like, if they ran, let's say, for argument's sake, if Denmark ran the Lucio, they would have recognized the positioning of China, and they would have just ran over Elsa. They would have sped boost right into the Sigma, taken him out, and that's would have been it. But they decided to go with the shield break, and a lot of nice teamwork from Denmark yet again to get Jinmu out of the sky. So now we get another fight underway. The Bastion's still in play.
Yeah, Eileen, though, they're getting pretty close to him. Then Denmark can use that bust to get out of line of sight. Shax rains it down. He'll have to take the trade here. China do have the Mercy, so do Kellex, though, and it's a Valkyrie from the latter as he brings Farah back. For Eviltal, a little bit too dangerous to try and bring Eileen back, and, well, he's going to switch to the Widowmaker now. This is good from Denmark. They are forcing China to switch out of their comfort zone.
And you really kind of thought that China would have the upper edge. That'll be a Dragon Strike. Molf again, man. The accretion from this guy has been so nice.
Fisher getting rid of Gushui there. Henningsen moving back up to the card. He caught Jinmu. I tell you what, Denmark finally with a legitimate main tank at the World Cup, and look at this.
I know. I saw online. They were like, people are talking about like, oh, who are the standout players from the World Cup so far? Like players you think that are like making a name for themselves. I would say this tank line for Denmark. Obviously they are kind of known in the contender scene and whatnot. But I think on the overall grand scheme of just Overwatch esports, and I think more the Overwatch League scene and fans, they're definitely growing.
Absolutely.
I mean, they are very good players.
Molf struggling there. Jimin was able to find him. Kinetic with Gravitic Flux fuse there. Not much really yielded by that one, and a Supercharge was trying to set their feet, but Shax is still able to find Eileen here. Even with a damage boost, Gushui can't really hang around for too long. All he can kind of do is pressure Henningsen's shield down further. Both teams commit the bongos to this fight, and Shax is now the one with all the room to work with. The Discord orb from Scalar also, I guess, helping. We had this discussion earlier on, but we can leave it for another time now. Denmark, 4 minutes and 35 seconds on the clock, far outstripping China. But Eileen somehow sneaks in and finds 2 kills. This is really going to slow the Danes down. They get Shax back in the fight. They need to focus on Eileen, and they get rid of him. 4 minutes 20.
I mean, Shax still able to pick up some kills. A Dragon Strike comes in as well. Rocket Barrage. Shax with 3 here towards the end.
Oh, that was clutch. Somehow else is able to keep Jinmu alive. He's going to try and get to the side rim, but Molf chases him down, and those hyperspheres be bouncing from wall to wall. Now it's just Elsa to get desuited over the top. It's going to be an Eviltal attempt for stall. Denmark don't have ultimates right now. They still need to build towards those, so it's just one-to-one play. Stay in a player advantage here and try and clean up. This stall is going to be quite annoying, especially now with Jinmu back in the mix, but they are falling one after another, and this is what Denmark have been looking for the entire time. Shax, big barrage to start it off.
But now for China, you end up getting a sound barrier out of this. The stall is just continuing to go, as now you have a supercharger here for Denmark.
This has got to be
the Gravitic Flux. This has to be it. They finally deal with Eviltal, and they complete the map with a very good amount of time in the bank.
Very good is 3 minutes and 34 seconds, so they are about a minute ahead of China in that regard. And the way they began the round, we said, okay, we know what China are very good with doing. They play a Bastion sort of Farah composition. Shax
they kind of got boomed by their own game, right? I mean, usually like we see China come into the World Cup and they play like wacky, different kind of compositions, and they try to bring something in, which I agreed. I thought the Bastion Farah was the right setup there at the beginning, but the way they just positioned themselves on defense was quite poor. An interesting comp with a lot of shield break potential. I mean, Hanzo, Farah, Zen. You're really playing around breaking the shields, which you don't see a lot of teams do in double shield. It's just, I think the positioning of Elsa at the beginning of it was a little bit different. You had the second shield there for the Bastion. You really played around it. I think it may have been a little bit different because at that point, Elsa's up by the Bastion, right? If they get on the point, he drops down, right? You have the halt still available. Then they're not able to play as much shield break as they would have liked, and you would have had the advantage. But China had the comp, not the positioning. So now we'll see Denmark on defense as they have more time in the bank.
I feel like we really touched on the playmaking potential of Orissa's Holtz. Not easy to make a lot happen with it, but Henningsen opened up that first fight with it last time. We talked about teams able to get good use of it, especially when it comes to combining with Meteor Strike. So keep an eye out for the little things here from the Orisa players, especially, you know, for this young Dane coming up.
That is
so sick, dude.
Cheeky. They try to get the Symmetra TP up in the front. Denmark, they realize it. Molf lands an accretion on Eileen, who's playing Sombra, and just an orb into the Sombra, take him out. Really? We have not,
Eileen's having none of it.
Do that.
He's just switched off the Sombra now. He said, all right, I'm going back to Doomfist. I've had enough of the shenanigans. Denmark, some wrinkly brains out there, I won't lie. Accretion just whistles past Jinmu's toes.
I like that. We haven't seen any other teams do that.
Yes. Yeah, it's the little things, bro. That's what we were saying just before. Jinmu, again, is in a position to do a lot of damage, though, when Denmark still have to answer that threat without a hit scan or anyone that really counters Farah. Eileen tries to go for a pretty safe punch just around the corner. Doesn't find the target he was looking for, but Scalar's missing, so the bulk of Denmark's healing's off the table. Jinmu now in over the top, and Eileen brought back into the fight. This is looking progressively worse for Denmark as the war of attrition is won out by China.
Yes, the Farah eventually towards the end just comes out on top. As Denmark, do you want to fight this again with the composition you have? You do have more time in the bank. You're not really necessarily forced to switch here. Personally, with how close you are,
do you fight close to this?
Yeah, absolutely. So with Sound Barrier Coalescence, you have the advantage in terms of support ultimates, like high value ones. So you definitely fight close. You have to be careful about this Rocket Barrage. You have no other ultimates really available to negate that. So Molf has to be careful.
Ooh, just dodged the accretion.
Now that you know accretion's off cooldown, you know that this can't be stunned up, this Rocket Barrage. So
no crowd control, really, outside of Fisher, but you'd have to be pretty low to the ground for that one. Here come the dueling coalescences, the Meteor Strike. Wall thrown up by Denmark to try and hold China at bay. It kind of gives them a way of disengaging. But the fight still has to be fought. Jinmu's down. Henningsen managed to get him. It was the accretion combo once more. Eileen's going to commit to this fight now, but Denmark are getting a heck of a lot of road out of just fighting up close. Brought down by the Gravitic Flux. Henningsen needs to be healed up pretty quickly. Gravitic Flux now coming out from Denmark. Molf trying to let it go. It's a messy fight, but Eileen's got himself into the back line. The cat amongst the pigeons will finally bring Denmark down, but this puts China in overtime now before they can get to a second checkpoint. That has got to be what they were looking for.
Yeah, and they have to invest everything there. Does China to get the payload moving. They will have a coalescence coming up next. Scalar will as well. And then Death Blossom. Not a lot of high impact ultimates for Denmark either. As the way we see games go here is, if I think China were able to take this second checkpoint, I think they have a decent chance at finishing the map. I think you put Denmark in such bad footing as the fight kicks off.
And you snowball so hard from here. This is the important fight right now. Eileen spending some time in the back lines. The accretion whistles past. He just managed to get out of the way with the Meteor Strike, and then he gets a kill on the backside. Not only does he evade certain death, but he gets a kill for its trouble. Now Denmark have to operate with only 5. Kellex briefly stunned up. Fisher was able to find Jinmu at least, but they're missing their Orisa now. There needs to be a lift. Fisher has a Blizzard. He's going to let it go. It wasn't eaten up by the kinetic grasp, but there's a real opportunity here for Denmark to turn the fight. They managed to get rid of Elsa. Gooseray also went down. It's going to be Kellex and Fisher trying to hold the fort. Eileen drops on in. Kellex is trying to skirt around the outside and maybe buy some time for the rest of his team to return. That shield was Molf. Can he touch the payload? No.
And now you have to decide for Denmark. You know, you've made some changes to try and get back towards the cart. Now you have to make even more changes. Do you want to play aggressive? Do you want to push up? As Jinmu now on the Tracer did that just to get back into the fight. Overtime almost burned down now. China has to stay on the payload.
Yeah, with a wrecking ball, eventually Henningsen builds a minefield that makes it impossible for China to touch anyway. But they are forced back regardless.
Not a bad push, though, from China.
I mean, your win condition is well and truly established now for the Danes. And you've got the time to do it. So much rides on that first point capture.
And I think China probably realizes where they went wrong with their bash instead of on defense, positioning-wise, the first time. So let's see what they decide to do. I would run it again. If I was them, I would run it again. I think you run out the Farah Bastion again. I think you just fix the positioning issues that you had. And you take advantage of the hallways, the crevices in the top right, let's say, when you're attacking the point.
Do you feel like that was the issue for China? Obviously, Jinmu kind of got screwed over because he got halted and picked off by accretion. If that doesn't happen, do you think that China is still in such a weak positional situation?
Yeah, I think so.
Let's keep an eye on where they set up then.
Because at that point, like at the original fight, right? I mean, no, well, actually, no, they were not running the Lucio. So actually, you could have probably held that even the
But they're
positioning.
Batiste,
like,
right?
If you had, well, no, I'm saying if Denmark had a Lucio and you were able to speed boost through Elsa on the high ground here, you would have gotten full control of this platform. And then that allows you to go through the back hallway. It puts the Bastion in a rough spot. And, you know, it's not even as difficult as trying to go down through the low side, right? And then go all the way up the staircase and around. It puts you in a weird spot, potentially get booped off. So Denmark, let's see, they'll probably scout again, then make a decision compositionally on what they would like to do here.
There we go, shields.
Do they run the Sombra again?
Okay, Shax switched awfully quickly last time. Okay.
Yeah.
This looks like more than just a couple players. Okay, Henderson won't switch. McCree. Talk to me about this.
So with the McCree, they probably realize that there's going to be a lot of players playing on the high ground to the right here for China, so that allows them to take this left platform like I mentioned before. And if you can force China off of this platform over here where they're trying to push through, the McCree can get some line of sight on the high ground, and then the Pharah becomes very easy of a target.
Fisher's able to get out alive, only just. A lot of rocks being thrown back and forth. Jinmu has to be careful, but he found Shax. McCree vulnerable out in the open with no shielding. The trade was there at least. Fisher getting rid of Elsa, but Jinmu still has, he still dominates the skies. Kellex is in trouble. Bit of AoE damage that need to be done, and yeah, Jinmu eventually found him. And now Gushui's just going to work Molf down, and China looks like they've got a solid hold here. They didn't have to play anything kind of cheesy, no Bastion.
You stay on McCree here, and that's kind of your decision here if you're Denmark. I mean, when you had Shax on Pharah before, and he was actually able to take Jinmu out in the sky, the issue is, so this is where you kind of, like, it all funnels back down to the supports and how necessary, like, Moira and Lucio kind of are right now. The reason they probably don't go with Pharah is because they don't want to play Mercy. They'd rather have Soundbarrier.
Stands to reason as well with how nasty both Elsa and Molf have been on those roles. Again, Shax is trying to find Nefara. He's trying to get a clear shot, but Jinmu's playing close to the wall, and even when he gets halted out, he's still so elusive. Kellex now down. This is kind of awkward because Denmark are midway between trying to capture and trying to retreat, and now they don't have the speed boost to assist either one of those initiatives. Shax is down. Eileen finds him yet again. The McCree once more falling. And this looks like another foiled attempt by Denmark, and this series rests on them being able to capture this point map. They only get 3 maps. And a loss here would mean that they cannot win the series.
Now we see Denmark come back. This would be the time to switch. I mean, because at this point, a minute and 15, even at a minute and 15, Mitch, you put yourself in a tough spot where you may not get these ultimates. I mean, you may have put yourself into a position here for Denmark where you backed yourself against the wall and you're kind of you pushed all your chips to the center on this McCree comp.
Yep. Yeah, maybe they'll regret that decision later on. Right now, they have to find a way to make it work. The cap's begun. Fisher, Meteor Strike. He's low, but he still tries to go into the fight. Was that ill-advised? Jinmu's going to punish him for that. Denmark have only 5 players, and that's all they're going to have for now. They do want to commit, which will leave them with very little time, and Jinmu's keeping tabs on where Shax is in main. Can the McCree start to find some picks? They've lost Molf now to the Gravitic Flux. Henningsen, there was no way he was going to survive that one, and again, Denmark is sent packing, this time with less than 30 seconds remaining in the round.
Oh, and this is a bad spot for Denmark to be in. Jinmu just fires off 2 rockets into the spawn. You'll have Rocket Barrage Supercharger here. They have to walk onto the point. Coalescence for both sides. Even if you were able to take this for Denmark, you are in such a tough spot to move the payload the distance.
Here we go. I don't think Deadeye's going to help Shax very much. They've already lost Henningsen in this fight. It's a horror start. Accretion connection onto Eileen. They need to find the extra pick, though. He gets away for a moment, but Fisher's able to chase him down. Shax is out in the open. He doesn't have shields to work with. It's such a dangerous spot to be, but the Gravitic Flux might be the setup he was looking for. He's still able to get Jinmu. Molf is down. But Shax is now able to find those kills he was looking for on the McCree, getting rid of Evil Tile now, and Henningsen returns on the Wrecking Ball to try and get back in the fight quicker. It's paid off. Shax did go down, but there's enough damage with the players remaining here, and the Sombra's still in the mix late in the fight for Fisher. That's what Denmark were looking for. Now they're able to take the point and have a crack at actually winning this map.
But now they've switched out so many players that, like, what do you do? Like, now look at this composition that they're kind of like they have out here. You're going to have to stay on Sombra because you really want to get this EMP off. EMP could be at least one fight win, right? For China, you're close to the Meteor Strike. You're close to the Flux. But if you have to take an aggressive fight here, if you don't win that, you're in a spot where you're going to have to move some things around to get a touch.
Not what they want to be. Big EMP, though. That's huge from
They
Fischer.
have to.
And if Denmark, they have to build up ultimates. It had to be one ultimate to win them the fight, and it's done that. Not only has it done that, it gives them their support ultimates now and a win.
They have to for China, because if you play back for China, you know they have EMP, and then you're relying on what? Just a last chance effort against that, EMP. You have to play something here that maybe gets it back to touch.
They have a sound barrier to deal with the gravitic flux that could come in here. They are so close. There will be a little bit of a delay now. The car won't move straight to the point, so don't get too excited. China definitely had time to get back. Here's the coalescence. Now, Denmark have one to respond with. They're going to let it go pretty much straight away. Shaxx trying to stay a little bit out of range for the start of this fight. Here's the gravitic flux over the sound barrier. It was there for Kellex. He managed to get it. Oh, no. They got off the cart. They got gravitic flux off the payload. Oh, no. It's happened again.
Sometimes it be like that.
Oh.
That is not even bad play from Denmark. They played that as good as you possibly could.
You cannot do anything about that.
And no, there's not, and especially because the overtime week has burned it down quick. There's nothing you can do. In that situation, so China gets the map.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it
barely
from this
though.
graphic.
They'll update it.
Yeah, it will.
I got faith.
There it is.
Boom.
Ba-bam. China, 2 out of the 3 maps that had to be played in this series, which will mean that there won't be a 4th. And Denmark are going to have to settle for just trying to get themselves a map. Now, it does matter, of course, because they are in a group. So when it comes to deciding those 2 teams that won't make it to tomorrow, they're going to want to have a map under their belt. But that is absolutely heartbreaking.
Denmark's been close in this series too, man. Map 1 goes down to the wire. Map 2 comes down to the wire. I don't know whether it I think it probably speaks for more of how strong of an opponent Denmark is than China's individual play. I think I was really impressed with Denmark yesterday. I'll still stay on the Denmark hype train today. I think they've looked great.
And they've got to recover from that, knowing that that was the series. That essentially lost the series with that gravitic flux that got rid of them.
Mitch has his little thing here.
I've streamed
it.
it.
What cool stuff did we do today? I see a bunch of
stuff.
Do
see this one?
Here.
I've been working on it, bro. I've been working on it.
What else?
What about this one? You like that one? Yep. Oh, look. We don't
really shows off my height.
Yeah. What about this one?
Hey. Oh, I realized it. I am not Josh Wilkinson. No.
That's actually us.
That's
Sometimes
maybe
you wish you were. You have that many Twitch subs. It doesn't seem like a terrible life.
See that guy's hairline? I wish to be him.
We said that yesterday. The best thing I heard about is that it looks like an Arista barrier. I think that's it. I haven't really had time to put a bunch of stuff on here. There is a black screen as well, but maybe that's preferable to looking at us at times. But yeah, that's all I got for you.
Yep. And there's no mute option for us, so sorry. Well, there is. There player,
there kind of is. Yeah, we may have to use it at some point.
But no, we won't be using that. So we do have another map.
That's right.
Do we have the map?
Can bring it up for you.
Bring it up. Boom. So
Havana.
Will be Havana for map 3. Bastion again. I think this is a double-sided Bastion map, right, for both teams.
Yeah, you think so? The Farah as well, probably.
Yeah.
See if they just try and play. They could try. And play
I don't think you'll see Farah. To be honest.
Main?
I think defensively, you can just play if you saw offense come out. Oh well, okay. So it depends on how you play it. I'll take that back. If you play defensive Farah, right, you can play over the spawn door, play close. Potential. Otherwise, I think if you came out with Farah on offense and they were played a little bit further away, played Widowmaker, you'd be in a tough spot. So, we'll see what both teams come out with. I think you will see a ton of Bastion here, and I think you'll also see a ton of Arisa. Those are my points.
So let's discuss a little bit then about if there's any room for China to play something different, or for Denmark to play something different. On this particular map. Probably not. You feel like that, as well for Denmark, maybe they're maybe they say
something like if we were going to like Route 66, like okay, maybe China can bring back out the Winston and like kind of like a Winston Reaper Pharah like dive, but not here on Havana. I mean Havana, like that first choke, it's kind of like Junker Townish.
Yeah, the sidelines are extremely long as well, which was why, in fairness, we saw Widow Pharah comps for quite a while. You know, obviously the Pharah like pretty much spawn camping on defense, playing above the enemy spawn, just trying to, you know, punish people and be very, very hard to hit. We'll see. China on the offense. That means Denmark have really locked their comp in here. So we Reaper main. No Bastion for them here, which means, what does that mean, Matt?
They're going to still play close with this. Mei wall out the spawn, forcing things out. Jinmu, I would not be surprised if Jinmu plays the Mei, because you can try and like out Mei wall the opponent and kind of push on through. So I've been delivered a beautiful buffalo chicken wrap by Dan McHugh. Thank you very much. We didn't get him on camera, but I don't think he realized I shouted him out. But
I don't think he cares.
He'll go back and watch the VOD. Be like, that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what he does in his spare time. Watch out, VODs.
Close-up play here from Denmark with the Mei, like I had mentioned.
Trying to have the Pharah. I mean,
well, so you could have went Mei to try and like get a wall of your own, or the other option is the Pharah here to try and put pressure. But that is where, you know, having the benefit of Kellex in Overwatch League support player definitely pays off, where some teams don't have that. He recognizes you have to go for the Bastion. What do? You speed boost the Reaper right at it. Don't let the Bastion get set up.
Yeah, Shax used his Wraithwalk offensively. He just stood in front of the Orisa. And then he came out of it. He knew he'd get reloaded. So he said, well, okay, you're fortified. I don't have enough damage in one clip. I'll just Wraithwalk and come out and just hit with the other 7 shots. So Denmark going to give a little bit more room here now that China's rotated to that left-hand side. But there's still no incentive for them to get out altogether. Jinmu needs barrage here, and he needs it, obviously, to be effective.
And if you don't watch a ton of Overwatch League, we can talk about why you play this close on Havana, because it is quite probably jarring for somebody who doesn't to see this type of play. With the way the map is here on Havana, on defense, you play really close. You get a few fights. You see, it's rather easy to hold here, right? And you still get 2 more fights. You'll get a fight at the corner, pretty much, and then you'll get a last-ditch effort before the warehouse. So now that China's broken it, they'll get the cart moving. You'll get a chance to see where the next fight will take place. It'll probably take place around that corner that we just saw Gushui walking towards.
On that second L bend, right?
Yeah, and it's the most effective strategy to use here, because otherwise you play at the corner, you get 1 fight. Now potentially you get 2 or 3 fights here. So that is why you see the strategy used here.
I mean, Denmark are clever. They know that Jinmu didn't use barrage, so they switched McCree for Shax.
Yeah, and also to, yeah, I mean, it's a good call. I see Jinmu now with the barrage.
There it is.
High, 9 shots there. The halt again.
Fischer managed to clean him up a little bit easier with the halt in play. That's what I'm saying. Henningsen is setting up these crucial kills.
So
man needs some recognition.
The tank line of Denmark has been pretty sick through the first 2 days.
This guy's a young superstar, man, I'm telling you. Shax probably feels a little bit better now that he has far more cover than he did trying to play on Numbani point A. Look at that. He's sharp as attack. You'll love to see it.
But now you can't exactly play as close because you don't have the Reaper in play. But, I mean, look, now China, you have to make some compositional changes, right? They're bringing the Lucio to try and speed.
Oh, they switch off with barrage.
Yeah. I mean, they probably realize their best course of action is to just barrel through the tank line. Just get up close with that Reaper.
Eileen with Meteor Strike. A lot of key ultimates coming around for China. Oh, great wall. Eileen can't get involved now. Gravitic Flux was used, but Sound Barrier was always going to be there. Kellex does not miss a beat. Excuse the pun. Shax gets taken down by Eileen, though, so patience really paid off for the Doomfist there. And, well, the DPSs are shredding Denmark, but we're in under a minute. So 3 minutes plus has been bled off the clock by Denmark, choosing to play forward.
And can you get another touch here if you're Denmark? Everybody going to spawn up.
Well, more importantly, can you force ultimates from China for them to get to point A? That's a stretch goal, right? This is Kickstarter, it's a stretch goal.
With Blizzard Coalescence, I think you're more focused on can you win it.
Okay, well, without Henningsen, doesn't look nearly as good. Oh, man, Eileen, so quick. Knew he was going to get accreted there, and he gets out. So, down to 25 seconds. Denmark did get the stall. They're pretty happy with that, Matt. Like, China had to use some of those ultimates.
Yeah, and I mean, now 2 minutes and 50 seconds to get through the warehouse phase of the map. Not a ton of time, especially when the other team has a Coalescence Blizzard. Think a definite fight win here, right?
And it's so easy to get deadlocked in this part of the map.
It is. I mean, we see a lot of teams in the Overwatch League stall out this one because the map plays so different from point to point.
Yeah, it feels like King's Row, that second phase, except doesn't really. King's Row doesn't have that roof. Far is even worse here. Yeah, well, Jinmu's chilling on top of the tanks, trying to come up with his own IPA like everybody else. Maybe come up with a team fight win is what he's more interested in. Gravitic Flux only catches Molf by the looks of things. He drops down, and that's when Jinmu tries to go for the Death Blossom. Molf went down. Fisher dropped the Blizzard at least, but China are able to skirt around that for the most part. So they draw a lot out of Denmark in that fight.
And because they're playing on the high ground, they're able to just get away from that Blizzard. So you get nothing from Blizzard, nothing from Coalescence, but a fight win for China around Elsa's Gravitic Flux and Jinmu's Death Blossom. So Denmark now, do you come out and invest Supercharger? Do you invest your own Gravitic Flux? You have to have an idea that the other team has the sound barrier. If you use Flux, force out sound barrier, you get a sound barrier of your own, you have a slight advantage.
This is a very important
nice
fight.
accretion again.
Molf now's going to try and follow up. Gooshway caught inside that one. He might drop. No, sound barrier was there.
Sound barrier from Kellex here, yep.
Yep, both teams have to go for that one. Elsa did not use Gravitic Flux. It was just a necessary overshield for Denmark in this fight. Both superchargers are taken down, but the sustained damage of Shax is missing already for Denmark. They lose him so early in the fight to what looked like a halt, potentially accretion, and China are still able to push forward. This now starting to billow a little bit out of control after what Denmark were able to do on point A.
And for Denmark, you're just trying to stop the bleeding at this point, right? What do you do to get that to happen? You can go aggressive with Coalescence, speed boost Coalescence, get the Reaper behind with a TP, and try and make a play. But look at this, Elsa with yet another Gravitic Flux here online. You just saw the sound barrier be used, so you speed boost and use this. Look at the halt, now the Gravitic Flux comes
perfect. So much of Denmark, and you see desperately Scalers just trying to hose them down and keep them alive before they drop. And, well, it didn't really work for Fisher. Eileen was able to pick him off as soon as he dropped to the ground, and oh my, that is a seismic slam opportunity of a lifetime. Big rising uppercut, though, and a lot of Denmark were knocked up, and now China, yeah, they're really working with a head of steam. That 3 minutes plus that they lost earlier on doesn't seem to be nearly as much of a factor now.
And now it seems like China's got a big advantage in terms of overall map progress. Havana, one of the harder maps to actually complete.
Yeah, it's quite rare that happens.
It's, now, I mean, you have your own Coalescence. You just saw them burn theirs, trying to save from a Flux. You have a Supercharger. The ultimate advantage the second half of the game has been all in favor of China.
Eileen hoping someone overextends. He's not going to get any easy targets here, though, as Denmark occupy the high ground. Punch in, just Henningsen knocked back. We'll have to go for another one in just a moment. But look at this. Jinmu's got himself into the back line. Having to play safe now, but the sound barrier does go off. Gooshway's supercharge is removed, and Eileen needs to get to safety, but Fisher chased him. 30 health left for Eileen, and it wasn't enough. China looks like they may have run out of that steam here again, but Jinmu's going to try and go with the Death Blossom. He gets himself two in the sound barrier now. Trying to have an opportunity to turn this fight around in a big way. Fisher just trying to get to safety there. He wasn't even trying to find a kill, and I don't think that rocket punch went where he wanted it to go. Yeah, he eventually gets caught out for that one. Here's the Flux. Kellex able to avoid getting caught in it. Yeah, a lot of work being done by Elsa here. Molf is forced into the kinetic grass, trying to buy some time for the rest of his team on the high ground. And here's the Supercharger. No healing in the backline, though. Look how low Scaler is. He doesn't have the healing orb cooldown. He lets it go now. That's going to have to be enough. But it's too late. They lose Henningsen before Scaler can get him back up to full health. But a Death Blossom from Shax might get them out of trouble here. He gets two. Elsa's able to walk up and punch him, but Scaler's Coalescence comes at the best time possible. 4 seconds left in the round now. And Gooshway's not going to get much done here. He needs the rest of his team to follow up, and that's not going to happen. So again, trying to get close, but that's all they get.
So that was a crazy scenario towards the end. I mean, Jinmu comes flying over the top, lands the Death Blossom, but towards the end, you were like wondering where Scaler was, just trying to get that orb out there, the more healing orb, the biotic orb, but he was actually so close. He was playing so passive because he knew how close to Coalescence he was, and he knew that that was the winning conditions, that he needed to get Coalescence to be able to use. Shax came out, got the healing off of that. Wally Death Blossom, then that's how Denmark able to get a hold there right before the payload would have went over the line.
That being said, as hard as it is to finish this map, a distance posted like that for China is a pretty good sign for them going forward. And, mate, walking away from a matchup with Denmark at 3-0, knowing just how brutal the series was, has to take a huge load off China's shoulders.
So now China on defense. You could play Widow Pharah. We mentioned that as a composition that you can play when you play really close to the spawn, just like Denmark. But, you know, I think the Pharah probably, not the Pharah, sorry. The Widowmaker is probably the one you would consider getting rid of out of this composition.
For what, in this case?
You know, you can play Reaper. I mean, it's going to sound like a broken record. Reaper, Doomfist, Mei. Like, you combo any of those with the Pharah, and I think you're in a good spot. Especially, I would have probably said Mei. Okay. Because Mei with the Roadhog, the Orisa Hog Mei, kind of like that
was
a
fishing,
meta for,
like we were back there for a
while.
while.
Plus the Pharah here to control the high ground. I think that would have been the go-to.
All right. They have it, though. Eileen's going to play back. Denmark is going to have to figure a way out of this, and Henningsen was not ready for that rocket.
And I believe that may have been a headshot from Eileen that set that up. Headshot from Eileen.
Very low.
And then the Pharah rocket.
So now you don't have an Orisa shield for the next couple of seconds. Henningsen's back, so Denmark have to just sit and spawn. There's no real option. You can't push out and try and make something happen.
Well, especially, I mean, you lose the Orisa, then they just start to get the halt hook combos down, and I mean, it can get out of control pretty quick.
So Shax is going to try and go for some cheeky little grapple play. Oh! They get hit. Oh, my God. Morpheus, I think that might have been a sleep dart that helped set that up for Scalar. A little bit hard to say from there. There's 4 people involved in that kill, but you better be sure Denmark made certain that they got rid of Jinmu.
That was pretty awesome there. Now Jinmu goes over and plays Hanzo. They'll go for a large shield break thing here as Denmark starting to move the payload through the map. They have gone with double sniper as well. So this is a rare double sniper. Shaq's playing a little bit far up, gets picked off.
What is this? Is this 2018 Grand Finals? Hello?
All right.
Shaq's brought back to life. Fisher trying to maintain control of the high ground, but I think he realizes that's not going to happen right now, especially with Shax out of the picture. Oh, not a good look. I don't like this at all from Denmark.
Yeah.
I think it might be time for a bit of a switch.
I just don't think China's the team that I would want to go like double sniper against. Like, I think Fisher and Shax are both awesome, but Jinmu on the Hanzo. Where would you say like Jinmu's Hanzo ranks in terms of the heroes he plays?
I would say like
Genji, Faro, Hanzo.
Yeah.
Like that's like Jinmu's
I would put
wheelhouse.
Jinmu's Hanzo at like second behind the Pharah, personally.
Yeah, you probably would. And then Eileen on the
also,
Widow,
like the only player that I mean, Eileen on the Widow is incredible. Like maybe there's individuals like Yang Xiaolong that are also really strong as well. But like I don't really think I'd want anyone else in that role.
Nope.
All right, China backing up a bunch. Dragon Strike for Fisher. I don't know who's going to be hitting for that one. Maybe Kyo. That's probably his best target. Oh dear, Shax, it was scoped in and wasn't ready for it. Fortune favors the bold, apparently.
The moon.
You've been inducted into the moon crew, for sure. Eviltal takes Fisher down and brings Eileen back, which is just a huge turnaround. It's a 2-player swing for China. Denmark gets stopped in their tracks. Now they're down to a minute 30, and they're in a very similar position that, well, China were beforehand, except it looks worse.
Jinmu has been on this flank for, what? Okay. Oh, yeah, all right, yeah, cool. Little 360 flick there from the Moo. But, I mean,
yuck!
That is filthy.
You nasty. 1 minute left. Well, this is it for Denmark. Either they get point A or they are done in this match.
I mean, that would be 2 outcomes. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm like Dr. Manhattan out here.
Yeah, really,
you could be Dr. Long Island. It's fine. Oh, Eileen. Okay. What do? You go for a res on Fisher? Probably not.
No, you get up, shake hands, and you ask where.
Okay. Shax's able to find
lunch
Eileen.
is served. Yep.
I mean, what can he do from this position now? Like, he has to do a heck of a lot more. Jinmu also has that above angle, so we can come over the top.
Res coming in here for Denmark.
A risky one at that. But they brought the Sigma back at the very least, and Jinmu is low. Can they afford to chase him here, though? That's my question.
No.
Look, you can just see the traces just whizzing over the top of people's heads.
Valk takes out Jinmu.
Yeah, all right. Well, Denmark know they need to dig deep for something special. Got to be now a Valk from Eviltal, and Eileen again finds a kill. He is dominating in this position, and Denmark have a lot of ults, but they don't have a chance to use them. They keep getting taken down by these snipers. 7 seconds remain in the round, and Denmark had to find a way not only to deal with the terror that is Eileen. Oh, the sleep dart! That would have been the end of Eileen if that were the case. They get Molf now. He was hoping to try and make a difference with the Wrecking Ball and get rid of the snipers, but that is just absolutely not happening. Dragon Strike now coming across the point. Henningsen will obviously fall to that one. And now in overtime, it's just Kellex trying to stay around on the point scaler. Valiant effort, but Elsa's going to find Shax there with that AoE damage and a punch, adding insult to injury as China go up 3-0 over Denmark in their first series of the day. Denmark played them close, Matt. Just not close enough.
They played them very close, but towards the end, that was the dominance that we expected from China. I think as the series got on, a lot like how we said yesterday when Denmark had that, when they had that first game and then they had like a little bit of a warm-up, right? And they kind of snowballed that in. I believe that was against Australia. Yep. Where this time, I think China just needed a little bit to get the juices flowing, get in the flow of the game. And once they started to get rolling, they looked great. I would say if I had to pick like some kind of MVP for the match, for me, I thought Elsa was great for China. I thought he was phenomenal.
I mean, he's also having to go against Molf, who is already impressed us a whole lot.
He was great, yeah. I mean, he was great yesterday and today.
So that was your first look at Team China, and I think it has everything we love about these players and about the Team China. It has the crazy, the Goose Winston, we got to see a bit of that. We saw in the Jinmu Farah, the Jinmu Hanzo, we got to see Eileen dominate on the Widow. We got to see crazy plays from Eviltal, playing aggressively as he does. Elsa, always with dominant flex tank or off-tank performances. This is still a team to watch. We were a little bit dubious earlier on in the series, Matt. Look, our China look a little bit odd. Like, we're not really sure what to make of them.
Yeah.
Clear to see they've warmed up. This is an affliction that occurs with a lot of teams that have received buys in the lead-up, but that'll do it. Let's show you the schedule. I'll show you what's coming up next. So that was our first match. Our next game is going to be South Korea versus France. It'll be our first look at South Korea. They probably have already played.
They did. I saw them. I saw the match that they were playing before. I'm not sure it's done though. So USA beat France. It looks like 3-0. Russia beat Canada 3-0.
Okay.
So you see what XQC means to the Canadian team. And I believe the game I see with Jake and Lemon Kiwi down there.
So it looks like
is
South Korea
Korean
is
game.
2-0 up over the UK.
Right.
So that's where they're at right now.
So we will have to wait for that to finish. It looks like they are in the offensive side of Havana.
Yeah.
There.
So you can obviously check those ones out. But for now, we're going to take a quick break, and we will return with South Korea versus France when all those matches are finalized. In the meantime, hold on to your hats, guys, and you can always head over, of course, to twitch.tv/Overwatch League for a little bit of red zone action. You're about to keep abreast of all the action in all the games. Thanks for joining us so far. We'll be back with Group A Round 2 in just a bit.
The 2019 Overwatch World Cup is brought to you by T-Mobile. Their newest signal goes farther than ever, and it's built 5G ready. Omen, the official PC and display of the Overwatch World Cup. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch World Cup.
Last 2 years, I represent France. It's a huge honor for us. When eSport was recognized in the US or in Korea, it wasn't in France.
Unbelievable! 3 now for Soon!
It's not representing a team, it's representing a nation, and there's a ton of people watching you because they are French and they want us to win.
The 2019 Overwatch World Cup is brought to you by T-Mobile. Their newest signal goes farther than ever, and it's built 5G ready. Omen, the official PC and display of the Overwatch World Cup. And by Coca-Cola, the official refreshment of the Overwatch World Cup.
Last 2 years, I represent France. It's a huge honor for us. When eSport was recognized in the US or in Korea, it wasn't in France.
Unbelievable! 3 now for Soon!
It's not representing a team, it's representing a nation, and there's a ton of people watching you because they are French and they want us to win.
The 2019 Overwatch World